Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle are some of the most well-known Pokemon of all time, with Ash adding all of them to his team early in the Pokemon anime and being the starter choices for Pokemon Red and Blue. Choosing your starter Pokemon was one of the major choices from all of our childhoods. But what if they look different? Would you still choose the same Pokemon? Let's reimagine the Kanto region. Obviously, not including Pikachu here. Pikachu wasn't really a choice anyway, so we'll just focus on the main trio. The artist today is Test the Team 3, who specifically said not to promote any social media and just to credit their username. So look them up on Reddit if you want to see more info. But let's dive into the new look starter Pokemon, and at the end of the video, we're going to see some reimagined Kanto legendaries too. Also, forgive my voice, I'm sick. Of course, starting with Bulbasaur, our grass-type starter. Now, this does have the same vibe that Bulbasaur has, being very happy, I think, but the back is actually quite different. Instead of being a closed-off bulb, it's actually open with lots and lots of long leaves, but that tail is kind of like a flower bud that's blooming out, which is quite nice. I think it looks quite cool for a new design Bulbasaur, while still being faithful to the traditional Bulbasaur as well. Ivysaur now is quite different. I feel like the bulb of it is quite different to the normal Ivysaur, because the normal Ivysaur is starting to open up a little bit, whereas this is quite shut off, but is also a different color to what we saw before, which is interesting, almost like a bit of a pinecone coloring. But I think the face is quite interesting. It's definitely reptilian, definitely is more of a snake kind of eye, I feel, and a snake kind of slim design, which is quite interesting. And then, of course, the final one is Venusaur, which is a completely different vibe and feeling to our traditional Venusaur. Venusaur normally big and aggressive, showing the teeth, that sort of thing, but this looks a bit more subdued, I think. It still has the open flower and leaves on the back, but if we look at Venusaur's now, it is now a grass and fairy type Pokemon. I think in the coloring we can kind of see a bit more fairy type. It's kind of got some pinks and reds and stuff like that. But looking at the stats, we can see it is definitely quite tanky and a special attacker as well. It's got some abilities. It's got Overgrow and it's got Grassy Surge. You're going to see Overgrow as a similar ability that we're going to see in both Charizard and Blastoise as well, boosting grass moves by 50% when it's 1/3 HP or lower. So we can see all of the notable moves for Venusaur here. I'm not going to go through them all, obviously, but it is interesting. There is a lot of different types of moves here. We can definitely see the Psychic type moves are very supportive in a way, with lots of defensive moves and healing in there as well. But it's also got the Poisonous moves, it's got Electric moves, and it's got Rock moves as well, which I think gives us a whole bunch of typing. And then, of course, we've got the signature move in Frenzy Plant, which is actually a little bit different to how Frenzy Plant works now in this reimagined region. But battling is not my forte at all. Pause the video if you want to go through this and start to think about what moves you would use. Not something I'm very good at all. Then going off into Charmander, which I think, and we're going to see Squirtle later on, I think Charmander is the one that is the most different to the traditional version. I absolutely love how it's like a little dinosaur hatching from the egg with the eggshell around its body and on its head as well. And even just the coloring of the egg is really, really nice. I also think it definitely looks a little bit more like a lizard compared to Charmander does. I'm not the biggest fan of Charmander compared to the other two, but I think this design looks really, really nice. Of course, evolving into Charmeleon, definitely getting that sort of deposition that Charmeleon has, now being a little bit more aggressive. It's got that fire coming off the head as well as the tail, which is really cool. So even got some, I guess, like rocky obsidian kind of bits coming off their head as well, which is really cool. And then our Charizard looking really, really nice. Now, this is actually a fire and dragon type, as Charizard probably should have been in the original Kanto anyway. It's got some really interesting parts on its arms. It almost looks, I feel it's almost like a bug type. I don't know why, but kind of like that greeny kind of coloring coming off from the arms there. And we can even see the green in the flame on the top of its head and like almost like whiskers and on the tail as well. So the coloring, I don't know, makes me think it was a bug type, but it is not. It is actually a fire and dragon type. Definitely got the high speed out of our starters here, and he's also a bit of a mixed attacker as well. The abilities Blaze, similar to what we saw with Venusaur as well, but now with fire types, and it's got Contrary as well to reverse stat changes, which is very interesting. And of course, our notable moves. Again, I'm not going to stop too long on here. We can see the signature move in Blast Burn, and again, a lot of different typing, mainly fire and dragon type moves there, but even has Solar Beam, which I think is really interesting. It's got U-Turn, Thunder Punch, Shadow Claw, a whole bunch of different typings. And then lastly, we have Squirtle, which is looking really different, but I think more so the pose is really different. If it wasn't curled up in a ball, maybe it wouldn't look too dissimilar, although the tail is quite large. Kind of got a bit of an icy kind of coloring there as well. But maybe it almost looks like it's meditating in a way, being curled up in a ball like that. Evolving into Wartortle, so it's definitely emerged from that now. Definitely has some cool coloring. I don't mind it at all. Definitely has some very icy kind of looks to it, but this doesn't become an ice type, especially when we look at the Blastoise. I thought instantly it was an ice type, but it is not. Blastoise here is actually a water and steel type Pokemon, which is a very very cool combo, and I definitely feel the original one could have had a steel typing with the massive cannons that Blastoise has. But here we have a massive icy tail, and the tail almost forms like a bit of a dragon head, or like the head of a worm maybe, which is such a cool idea. I love that design. It's got ice over its head and almost like a bit of an icy beard as well. But as I said, it is that water and steel typing. But the stats here definitely make it look kind of bulky, very, very low speed as well. We have our abilities, Torrent and Filter. So it receives less damage from super effective attacks. So again, making it even more bulky. And we can see the moves, lots of water and steel moves. It does have a few ice moves, Blizzard and Ice Beam, which definitely makes sense. But also got, like the other starters, a whole bunch of different moves here from a lot of different typings, which can definitely make some interesting battles, I think. And then Hydro Cannon for its signature move as well. Looking at all the starters together, I think Charmander is actually my favorite first starter Pokemon here, but I do absolutely love the Blastoise for the final. So I think if I had to choose, I'm gonna have to choose Squirtle and choose that water line again. Comment down below what your starter Pokemon is going to be, and let's have a look at some of the reimagined legendaries. So first of all, of course, our Kanto legendary birds. We've got our Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres here. All looking quite different. I think they're really interesting as well. You can tell which Pokemon they're based on, but also looking quite different. I'm not the biggest fan with Moltres. It's almost got like a bit of a black goatee and big black eyebrows and a mustache coming out. Not the biggest fan of that. So if I had to pick one of these, I think Articuno is my favorite. I love the kind of Aurora Borealis look that we have at the top of their head there and throughout the tail as well. I think that definitely matches Articuno really, really well. And then going into Mewtwo. Now, the artist has specifically said they tried to make Mewtwo as OP as possible. So take this design and these abilities and moves that you're about to see with a grain of salt. I know some people are going to take it seriously. It's just for a bit of fun, guys. Relax in the comments. But Mewtwo here looking really, really nice. It still has that very dominant, strong looking presence that, of course, Mewtwo has. And of course, the stats are maxed out at a total of 700 there. Definitely got a kind of glass cannon kind of vibe as well, with the attack and special attack being very, very high. Now, its abilities has a whole bunch of different things in it. So the ability is Renegade. I'll let you pause the video if you want and to read through all of those. But I think just this middle line here gives you a bit of an idea about how strong this ability is. But on a more serious side, the main thing to look at is that it gains stab on all moves and it can never miss. So if we look at the possible moveset here, it's got one of every single type of move, knowing that it gets stab on all these moves as well. Now, all of these moves have secondary effects, which I'll let you read here, but just to give you a bit of an idea, the ice one has a 100% chance to freeze and the move can never miss. So yeah, it says OP as possible, but it's just for a little bit of fun, so I think that's really cool. Let me know down in the comments what moveset you're going to choose for Mewtwo. Obviously, it is insanely OP, but for a bit of fun, let me know which ones you're going to choose. Something a little bit different for this video, just a little bit of fun, but I hope you enjoyed looking at the reimagined Kanto Pokemon. Now, a lot of my videos aren't sponsored, guys, so if you want to support the channel, you can become a member by clicking the join button below the video for just $1, and that really helps me out. And what also helps me out is subscribing to the channel and checking out some of these videos as well. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in the next one.